Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we got a fun show on tap for all of y'all today. Also, a huge shout out to everybody for being reasonable with me. I don't take a lot of sick days here at Chat Sports, and man, I'll tell you what, I was battling some wicked stuff going on with my stomach yesterday, so hopefully we make up for it today with 3 segments on tap for all of y'all. We're going to get into the latest news and rumors today, looking at a lot of quarterback draft rumors. Also going to talk about Max Crosby for the nomination that he was given today. Then we're going to look at the Raiders' playoff chances. I know some of y'all get mad at me when I talk about playoff chances because there's not a big chance, but to me, anything that I do in life, and whether it's Raiders, whether it's whatever, until that fat lady sings and until there is a 0% chance of the Raiders making the playoffs, I'm going to continue to outline what that path is for the silver and black, because I know some of y'all are like, Mitch, who cares? Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly, both of those guys care, because guess what? If they want to have a job next season with the Raiders, they need to be able to show here in the next 5 games that we're making strides in the correct path. And then I got some players that need to step up, not just like guys who haven't played well, but if we're going to make this playoff run, if certain dudes want to be back next season, if certain players want to be re-signed, or some guys just might get cut next offseason. It's going to be a brand new looking team. We can all agree on that. So here are some players that need to step up. As always, if people want to get those questions, comments going, hashtag Raiders for Super Chat. And we're also going to do a 50-50 raffle at the end of today's show. $10 Venmo to get in at Mitchell Renz 365. All right, let's go to the first question here on the show, and we'll get into a little Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. talk coming up here in just a second. If you had to pick a starter, though, and these were your only 4 quarterbacks that you could pick from as being the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2024, who would you go with? Would you go with Jayden Daniels, type JD? Maybe you'd roll with the Washington quarterback and Michael Penix Jr., MP. Bo Nix, BN, or Aidan O'Connell, AOC. We're going to give some shout-outs here on the show. Jeremy, where exactly do you lie with the 4 QBs right now?
Well, I think you already know. I think Bo Nix, a little overrated in my opinion.
Okay.
I really like Jayden Daniels. I think he's jumped Michael Penix in my quarterback rankings for 24 draft class.
Wow.
So I would probably, I would be typing my JD. I really like Jayden Daniels. Don't get me wrong. I love Michael Penix. But I think Jayden Daniels has a little bit more, pro-ready in him.
Would it scare you? Because I know a lot of Raider fans are like, we can't go draft another LSU quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
does that scare you? I mean, people said the exact same thing about C.J. Stroud in Ohio State.
Yeah, I feel like you can't use that logic, because what would the Raiders have done if they were picking one with Joe Burrow? Just like, can't do it. LSU quarterback. And Joe Burrow's now one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Hey, man, I totally hear. I think a lot of the people agree with you, though. They go Jayden Daniels for Vincenzo Peoples. Rocca is going to go with Jayden Daniels. Surfa, Raiders since 74. Jayden Daniels, Matthew White, Jeff Garcia. They're going to roll with Aidan O'Connell. Henry Posada just said, you know what? I'm not even going to answer the question properly. He wants J.J. McCarthy.
Wow.
Yeah, again, I mean, J.J. McCarthy to me is not a very good quarterback, but that's besides the point. King Shav, Jayden Daniels. Pushing 10, Jayden Daniels. Michael Penix Jr. from Enrique. J-Mo. Lynn Moss going to roll with Aidan O'Connell. I'll give you my answer on this question coming up here in probably 20, 25 minutes on today's live show. We will be live for, I'll say, around 2 hours today, so please keep that in mind. And you were smiling. You don't have to stop. You can keep it going. Today's show sponsor is PrizePicks. That's why that big smile is right there. And if anybody wants to get started with a little daily fantasy sports made easy, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match. Will you stop pointing at your Michael Penix? And just go to the link that you see down there below.
I'm pointing at my Michael PrizePicks.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a prize pick. Seriously, though, all you got to do is pick 2+ players, choose more or less. It is daily fantasy sports made easy. But you know what, Jeremy? That's not the only sponsor we have here on today's Raiders Report show.
Wait, really?
I swear to you. I don't even know why I would make that up. The other sponsor we got today is huge shout out to Gametime.
Whoa!
And if anybody's looking for Raiders tickets, maybe some concerts, theater, and a whole lot more, guess what? Gametime is going to be here to hook you guys up. So download the Gametime app today.
So you're telling me I can place daily fantasy, 2 to 6, and then go to that game and then watch my daily fantasy play out?
You got it. If you want to go more on Aidan O'Connell, more on Devontae Adams, and then spend less with Gametime, you have the ability.
I see what you did there.
You just got to use code RaidersChat for $20 off first purchase. Check it out. Gametime. Download it today. $20 off with code RaidersChat. It's a pretty sick app, man. We've used it a lot. Did you use it this weekend on your bachelor party? How was it?
My buddies did. We went to go see Saturday. We were like, we went out there. We knew we were going to the Pac-12 game.
Jealous, by the way.
Which we used Gametime for. I did some scouting. That's why, if you're going to listen to anybody about these two quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, this guy saw them both live.
Yep.
On Friday. But on Saturday, we were like, I don't know what to do. Maybe we just play it by ear. Same day tickets to Adam Sandler comedy show.
Oh, yeah? Saturday
night, I went there. Judd Apatow opened. It was great.
Yeah. I've been trying to get Alex to watch 8 Crazy Nights. She won't do it.
It's a technical foul.
She won't do it. And I agree. It is a technical foul. It's also a technical foul if you don't use PrizePicks or Gametime. Both of our awesome sponsors. The links are available to you all down in the comments and in the description. Or else. I
will find you.
Or else one of our Raiders Report watchers.
Brandon Jasper has a particular set of skills. He will find you, and he will bang.
Yeah, so will James Lillard. How many games will the Raiders win this season? Currently sitting here at 5-7. Las Vegas goes up against the Minnesota Vikings this week. Chargers on Thursday Night Football. Then you're going up against the Chiefs on Christmas. Then it's the Colts. And then it's the Denver Broncos.
Wow.
5 pretty tough games to finish out the season. Currently right now at 5-7. I'm going to go through all the percentages because there is still a chance that the Raiders make the playoffs. And the good part for Las Vegas is they can control their own destiny.
Raiders have not one, but 2 holiday games this year.
Yeah?
Yeah, they play Chiefs on Christmas. They play the Vikings on Hanukkah.
Really?
Yeah.
When does it start? Is that like the official start day?
Friday's the start day. Friday's the first day of Hanukkah.
So I feel like we got to do something. We definitely got to get lit on Sunday.
Do I bring in dreidels on Sunday?
I don't hate the idea. I think you bring in candles. Can you bring in candles?
Brett, can we light candles in here?
Does anybody make candles out there? I think we could do it. Nah, man, but seriously, how many games will the Raiders win this season? A lovely bunch of coconut says 9. Brian Lee says 8. John Cosby's going to go 7. 8 tops from Robert Jansen. Friday is my birthday from Big Rock. Happy early birthday.
Hey,
what's up, Big Island? King's going to go 9. Vincenzo says 9. I mean, here's the thing. If the Raiders win 9 games, I even have the percentages coming up here on today's live show of what the probability is for the Raiders if they only win 9 games. So, I'll show you what the probability is if they were to lose to the Vikings, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Colts, and the Broncos. There's still a chance. I would love for Las Vegas to be able to make the playoffs. I would love for Aidan O'Connell to ball out. I would love for Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly to come back because if they end up making the playoffs, hell, I think even if they win 9 games, you got to have that conversation. If you're able to win 3 out of your final 5 games against the teams that the Raiders are playing against, there's at least an argument to be had.
Yeah.
You've won 2 games that you should have won. You've lost 2 games that, let's face it, the Dolphins and the Chiefs are better teams. But can you rally them after the bye week, and can you make a really tough stretch down the final 5 games? I mean, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting with the Las Vegas Raiders. I can't wait. Definitely can't wait. All right, we got one more question, and then I say we get into today's live show. Because I really wasn't able to talk to you about this on Sunday, and I'm really curious where you sit on this. And I know that this is the Raiders Report, but I still wanted to talk about college football. Did Florida State get screwed? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Because a lot of the time when we asked this question on Sunday, I would say majority of the votes came in as yes. Did Florida State get screwed? Somebody just asked, how are they difficult? they're an underdog in every game for the rest of the season. I think that makes them a difficult game. The Raiders will be underdogs every single game from here on out.
Lord Only Dan says yes. Robert says no. VL says no. Gary, no. Jeffrey, yes. Henry, yes. Surfa, yes. PG, yes. Vincenzo, yes. Rebel Montana says yes. Martin says, I have no idea.
No idea. I think it's this. I think, did they get screwed? Yes, but I also think that the committee got it right.
I don't think so.
You think Florida State should have got in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just like, it's so subjective.
Oh, I agree.
To where
Alabama, it took a 32-yard Hail Mary for them to beat Auburn.
they almost lost to what was it, UAB?
It was something like that.
It's just SEC bias because they have some big schools there, but SEC, they were down this year.
Who would win, Florida State or Alabama, if you had to guess?
Right now,
Yeah.
with how pissed Florida State is, I'd go Florida State.
Yeah, okay. Hey, that's your opinion.
Wait, let me tell you this. Who's better, Florida State or Auburn?
I think Florida State
Florida State's better than Auburn?
probably a better team.
Okay, well, Auburn should have beaten Alabama. I think everybody's on Alabama's knob because how well they've done in the past and the historic franchise that it was. Let me ask you this. Instead of Mike Norvell, if it was Deion Sanders coaching Florida State, would they have gotten in over Alabama?
Probably.
I bet you they would have.
Probably. I mean, that I'm not really going to dispute it. I've seen it from both sides. I'll say this, though. Alabama has the most impressive win this year in college football, do they not?
Against Georgia?
That's the most impressive win in college football
Well,
this
then
year.
in that instance, Texas has the most impressive win because they beat the team that beat the best team.
I hear you. I'm just saying, I love the parity of college football. I can't wait for them to go to 12 teams. This year, I kind of wish they would have just said, you know what? Michigan, Washington, y'all get a bye, and then just put Georgia and put FSU in to like a known like 4-team playoff, and then the winner of those games got to play the winner of.
And the biggest slap in the face, the biggest thing where I'm like, the committee is just like so hypocritical with this is that, okay, Georgia's the best team in the nation throughout the whole year.
Yep.
They lose one game to Alabama, which helps them pole vault all the way to the top 4. But still, you put Florida State above Georgia, saying that Florida State's better than Georgia in the final rankings.
Oh, I know. It's all opinionated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, you got to go out there and play. That I will admit that. You do got to go out there and you got to play.
A Michigan super fan just came in and told me I didn't have a wise take.
Michigan super fan. All right, y'all.
He said he likes it, but it's not a wise take.
Here we go. If you want in our duck race, you got an opportunity to get in right now. $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 if anybody wants a chance to get in, which right now I'm looking, and it looks like Justin Abgen has got 2 in. So Justin Abgen, you in. If anybody else wants in, $10 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 for a shot to get in here, which I actually should probably make a Word doc real quick. That way I can keep track of it. And Justin Abgen, you in twice. Perfect. All right, so we already got 2 people in here. Also, Jeremy, I saw a question earlier, and again, if anybody wants to get a question here on the show, you can use hashtag Raiders. I saw one earlier that somebody used hashtag Raiders that I really liked. Does Adams get traded, or does he play his final year in Vegas? So for those that don't remember, Davante Adams, when he signed his contract, it was a 5-year, $140 million deal. This one came in from Emilio. The idea behind Davante getting traded, I do think that there is at least a possibility on the idea that Davante gets dealt. Now, yes, the Raiders have already paid him for 2024, and he's going to make $16.8 million against the cap. However, though, the following years, Davante is making $44 million in 2025, and then in 2026, making $44 million. If the Raiders believe that they want Caleb Williams, they wanted Drake Maye, and they need to trade some draft capital to go up and do it, I think like that's the scenario where Davante might get dealt. I don't think that he ends up getting dealt. I would say that there's a 10 to 15% chance Davante is traded this offseason.
Wow, that's gone up. That's gone up for you.
It has gone up, and I mean, I think like that's the way the Raiders have to look at it. It is, do you trade your star wide receiver in the year that you can get the most for him for a chance to get a quarterback?
Are you saying that because you think he could be added into a pot to move up in the draft?
Yes. Like, your best draft capital for Davante is right now. Like, you can get, if a team offered you 2 first-round picks and then some for Davante, I think the Raiders, you got to at least think about it.
If you're the Bears and you really like Justin Fields, could you imagine they have like 2 of the top picks, trade for Davante Adams with the other pick, take Marvin Harrison? You have Davante Adams and Marvin Harrison on the outside with Justin Fields. Would you be okay with that, Petey?
Rebel, I hear your take of no point of trading him if the Raiders paid him. I hear you, but again, if a team offers you 2 first-round picks and maybe a Pro Bowl level type of player, if the Jets are desperate enough, or whatever the team is, then you got a 30-year-old plus wide receiver who's aging, and this is the year to trade him because I don't think many teams are going to offer you nearly as much the following years because of his contract. I mean, you go up to $44 million, and sure, the team that would trade for him would only owe $35, but paying Davante, 31, 32 wide receiver, $35 million, that's why if a trade happens, to me, if a trade goes down, it happens this offseason or before the NFL trade deadline because it's the time that the Raiders are going to get the absolute most for Davante, which nobody wants the Raiders to trade Davante. But if I told you that the only way that you're going to get your franchise quarterback or hope that you're going to get your franchise quarterback is to move on from Davante, I do think people are going to start at least thinking about that idea.
Robert, I don't think the Broncos do that deal at all.
Yeah, no,
2 firsts and Surtain?
No way.
No chance.
No, that's way too much.
Yeah.
Patrick Surtain's a young, really, really talented corner.
They'd probably do Surtain for Davante Adams straight up and maybe throw in a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Because Surtain's value is probably around a first or a first plus.
I mean, the Broncos wanted the first plus for Surtain during the NFL trade deadline. And the fact that both of those teams are division rivals, yeah, there's no way you're getting 2 firsts and Patrick Surtain. It'd be
I would make that deal.
I probably would. I'm not even kidding you. I mean, it would suck seeing Davante go to Denver, and I do not want to see him go over there. But now you have one of the top young corners in the NFL. In the NFL, he is one of the top guys. And now you have 2 first-round picks to pair with your already first-round pick, and then you could probably go up and get the quarterback that you want. Yeah, it's interesting. What up, Jeff Rogers? What up, Smurfs? What up, J-Mo H, a.k.a. Devil J? I see my guy, Raider Sancho, Raider85. Gets all good looking down there in the chat. And Mr. David Zahn. What's up, Zahn? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully everybody's ready for a fun show on tap. And remember, at the end, we're doing a 50-50 raffle, $10 Venmo for a chance to get in and win some money. Right now, if you were to send in $10, you'd have a chance to win 15. Right now, if you send in 10, you'd have a chance to win 15. It'll grow as the show goes on.
It's a grower, not a shower.
That's usually how it is. It's usually how these shows go. All right, y'all, coming up right now, let's get into the latest news and rumors going on around the Las Vegas Raiders. Remember, PrizePicks sponsor. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's do this thing.
Let's get it.
All right, now for real, we're going to do this.
This time we're going to do it. Here, ready? What? Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, the Las Vegas Raiders could draft a 2023 Heisman Finalist. Now, the way that I look at college football and the way that I look at the quarterback room here, yes, the Raiders have Aidan O'Connell, and the idea of whether or not Aidan is going to be back next season is still 100% up for grabs. But the reason why I wanted to make this show is because the Heisman finalists have just been revealed. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and to me, I don't know who the next head coach is going to be. I don't know who the next general manager is going to be for the Silver and Black. However, there is a chance, and I actually think that there is a halfway decent chance, that the Raiders are going to be targeting one of the quarterbacks here that is a Heisman finalist, whether that be Jayden Daniels, whether that be Bo Nix, or whether that be Michael Penix Jr. I believe that if they are not targeting one of those QBs, not saying that they're going to draft one, but you at least got to start doing your homework, and you got to at least have the idea that it's a possibility that you're going to draft one of those Heisman finalists. No disrespect to Marvin Harrison Jr., he's not going to be there. He's going to go to a team early on that needs a wide receiver. So the reason why I'm talking about these three quarterbacks is because let's just say the Raiders don't want to have to trade up, right? You're trying to build in the draft. You're trying to save some of that draft capital, and if I'm a new head coach or GM, I want to be able to save some of that draft capital. And yes, I love me some Drake Maye. To me, he's going to be a top 3 pick, and unless the Raiders lose out, that's really going to be the only way that you're going to be in a position to have enough draft capital to trade up for a Drake Maye, to trade up for a Caleb Williams, right? He's going to be skipping the bowl game, and I know some people are like, I don't know if he's going to come out for the draft. The fact that he's skipping the bowl game, to me, indicates that Caleb Williams is going to be entering the draft. Drake Maye is going to be entering the draft, and personally, the only way that you're going to get a Caleb Williams or a Drake Maye is if you were to trade your first-round pick and a guy potentially like a Devontae Adams, or you trade your pick and you got to trade 2 more first-round picks. So if you don't want to do that, that's where you have to look at some of these Heisman finalists like a Bo Nix, like a Jayden Daniels, or like a Michael Penix Jr. So to me, I believe in 2024, Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. are all guys that the Raiders will 100% have on their big board. Also, shout out to Big House. How about this, though? This is a big-time question here, and I'm curious where you guys land on it. If you had to pick a starting quarterback, and you can only pick from the 4 names that you see on screen right now, who would you go with? Would you go with the LSU quarterback in Jayden Daniels? Would you go with the Oregon quarterback in Bo Nix? Would you roll with the Washington guy and Michael Penix Jr.? Or you just say, you know what, man? I don't want any of those QBs because to me, they're not better than Aidan O'Connell. I want you to spam AOC if you're rolling with Aidan. Coming up here on the show, I will give you my answer, and I'm going to rank where I have all 3 of those quarterbacks ranked compared to Aidan. So I'm going to tell you who I like more between Bo, Jayden, and Michael Penix Jr., though there's some people that call him Michael Penix. I'm not going to mention any names. So to me, though, when you look at potentially drafting that Heisman finalist, as it stands right now, the moment that I am making this video, the Silver and Black have the 11th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, and if they lose the remainder of their games, hell, I just anticipate that they're going to be somewhere between pick 6 and pick 11. That's where I see the Raiders end up falling, and they could find themselves in the top 7. However, you could talk about Jayden, you could talk about Bo, you could talk about Michael, you could talk about all these quarterbacks in the draft. If Aidan O'Connell balls out these remaining 5 games, and he shows that, hey, I might have what it takes to be the franchise quarterback, you're going to find out in the next 5. My problem is, not that I don't believe in Aidan, I just believe that there's a lot more upside, and you need upside in the AFC West going up against Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. You need some of the upside, which I don't know if Aidan has. So coming up here is ranking the 3 Heisman finalists for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2024. I'm not sitting up here, I'm saying I'm ranking these QBs based on where they should go in the draft. That's not what I'm saying at all. The ranking that you're going to see is strictly for the Raiders. What 3 quarterbacks in that rank, how I believe that they're going to fit with what the Raiders have currently on their offense, currently have as a defense, currently have with free agency, draft picks. You have to put all of that together considering of what quarterback you're going to decide to roll with next season. Now, I'll give you those rankings here in just a sec, but I do got to give a shout-out to today's sponsor, PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, and man, I can't wait for Week 14. I'm going to show you my picks for the Raiders-Vikings game, and if anybody wants to start playing, hey, you can do it as well. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. We were doing a little PrizePicks on Sunday and had one of my players get injured. I ended up taking Tank Dell, but because he got injured, I ended up getting the reboot policy, and guess what? I didn't lose any of the money. So with PrizePicks this week, you could pick more or less Aidan O'Connell, 213.5 passing yards. I took the more on that one. The Vikings defense is built really solid up the middle with their defensive tackles. They're actually really good against the run. So because of that, I'm going to go less with Josh Jacobs. TJ Hawkinson, one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the league. and what's his name? Dobbs has been looking to him a bunch. So I took the Moore there, and then Devontae Adams. If I'm going to go more with Aidan, I'm going to roll with Moore with Devontae Adams as well. So again, Nation, if anybody wants to go get started, play around a little bit, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS, and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. All right, let's look at these Heisman finalists and which ones that I believe that the Raiders should end up targeting and drafting in 2024. I'll even tell you where exactly I would target them in the draft if I was the general manager here of the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming in here at number 3, it's Bo Nix. And I think what Bo has been able to do for the Oregon Ducks is sensational. Anytime you see a young man go from Auburn, and not only like going from Auburn, like the type of quarterback that he was at Auburn, to now the type of quarterback that he is at Oregon, because he has improved every single year that he has been under center, which is a trait that I look for time and time again, especially when you look at a kid that was highly recruited coming out of high school, goes to college, struggles, and sometimes you can struggle, but how do you bounce back? I do think that he has the leadership qualities that you're looking for in terms of a quarterback, and yeah, I don't think the ceiling is all that high. To me, his arm is decent, but your ability to handle pressure speaks volumes. Like, you can have all the athletic ability in the world. If you don't have it up here to be an NFL QB, I'm not going to bet my money on you unless you have it up here. And Nix, to me, looks very mentally strong. I will admit the offense that they have created for him in Oregon is as simple as possible, and that type of offense will not work in the NFL. At least I don't believe that it will, because it's just totally different short intermediate routes. But Bo this season, 77.2% completion percentage. I mean, like, that is extremely impressive. 4,145 yards, 40 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When it comes to Bo, well, you know what? I'll ask you first before I give you my answer. Give me a yes, give me a no. Do you think that Bo Nix is worth a first-round pick in the NFL draft? Because this is a big-time question for me out there. If you're the Raiders and you're currently sitting at 11, I don't want to take Bo Nix at 11. I'm telling you that right now. However, what if the Raiders right now, I think their other pick's at 42. What if you package the deal and you tried to move up into the first round to go get Bo? But if you don't think he's worth a first-round pick, I don't know if it's smart to take Bo that early. So what do you think? Yes? No? Is Bo Nix worth a first-rounder? For me personally, I do not think that Bo is worth a first-round pick. And if it was up to me and the only way that the Raiders were going to get Nix is in round 1, I'd rather you just keep Aidan O'Connell. I'd rather you use that extra first-round pick to be able to go out and build the team around Aidan, because honestly, I actually don't think that the upside is all that different to me. Yes, Bo was a better athlete, but Aidan and Bo, in terms of their ability to throw the football, I do not believe that it is that much different. I would rather the Raiders keep Aidan O'Connell instead of going out and drafting Bo Nix. Let's go to number 2 here for my Heisman finalist for Las Vegas, Michael Penix Jr. And for those of you that watch the show, yeah, it's different. Penix now is bounced down. I put Jayden Daniels. He's going to be number 1. Spoiler alert. I love the fact that he's a confident passer. He shows good accuracy, his ability to throw the football in the middle of the field, on the outside. It's a quality that doesn't get nearly talked about enough, especially for a young college quarterback getting ready to go into the NFL. The biggest red flag that I have on him, and it's the biggest red flag that a lot of people should have on Michael Penix Jr., it's the injury history. He's been healthy the last 2 years. That's great. But what ends up happening in these draft processes is, if I'm a GM, right, I'm going to look at everything. And you should look at senior year, junior year, sophomore, freshman, high school. Like, you got to go and you got to do your homework, because whoever that next GM head coach is, if you decide to roll with a Michael Penix Jr. and he ends up getting hurt, that's going to be something that people say, hey, you should have done better homework. He has red flags. But just like I mentioned with Bo, when Penix was at Indiana, no talent around him, but you could still see that he was a playmaker. The fact that he has been as successful as what he has been with Washington, yes, you got to tip your cap to Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator of the Huskies, but 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. There's a reason why Washington is the number 2 team in the country. And it's because of Michael Penix Jr. It's because of that offense, and it's because of his ability to spread the love to all of his receivers, get everybody involved. It's what makes Washington so difficult to cover. I can't wait to see what he does in the college football playoffs. But number 1 for me, and the more and more I watch this kid play, the more and more I'm just going to be real with you. I'm not saying that they're the exact same quarterback, but I can remember watching Lamar Jackson at Louisville, and everybody was telling me, oh, Lamar Jackson isn't going to be a good NFL quarterback because his skill set doesn't translate. But when you watch Lamar Jackson play, you were like, that guy's just different to me. Like, he's an incredible athlete. He's the best player on the field. And when I watch Jayden Daniels, it's the same exact mindset that I have. And a lot of times when I watch quarterbacks play, I write down notes. And I write down notes more of a reminder. And one of my quarterback notes that I have from that Lamar Jackson year was, hey, if you like a guy and he stands out to you that much, don't let other people influence you. And every time I watch Jayden Daniels play, he is right now the number one quarterback minus Drake Maye, because I've always been a Drake Maye fan. I would rather watch Jayden Daniels play right now than Caleb Williams. Like, to me, Daniels is the most important player to his team in college football. When it's a big-time situation, those guys look to him. That's a quality. He's a leader. He has the arm strength, and he has the athletic ability to be a nightmare for defensive coaches. And to me right now, where I look at where this Raiders roster is, why not? And I know that there's going to be people out there like, Mitch, the Raiders can't do it because he's an LSU quarterback because of Jamarcus Russell. Let me just say this one time because I don't want to have to say it again. If your biggest reason why the Raiders shouldn't draft Jayden Daniels is because of the helmet that he wears, man, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like, would you have taken Joe Burrow? Jeremy made that, comparison earlier in our live show. I know a lot of people said you can't draft C.J. Stroud because he's an Ohio State quarterback. To me, you have to watch the player. You have to look at the guy and what he brings to the table and how he's gotten better and better and better. And the jump that he made from last season to this season, I'll tell you what right now, I believe Jayden Daniels is going to win the Heisman. And if you watch the tape, don't look at the helmet. Just watch the player. To me, man, he's going to be a top 10 player that goes in the draft. And I believe when you look at his throwing ability, but then also his ability to run with the ball, man, 135 carries, over 1,000 yards rushing, 10 rushing touchdowns in the SEC. To me, Bo Nix is good. To me, Michael Penix Jr. is good. Jayden Daniels has the upside and has the ability. And quite frankly, if you want to compete with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, you need a home run. Jayden Daniels has that home run ability that at this point, I say, why the hell not? Let's take a chance. Let's roll with Jayden Daniels. Now, just because I have Jayden as number one on this list, he is still not my top quarterback in this year's draft class. But it goes back to, yes, I like Aidan O'Connell. Aidan O'Connell is you hitting a single. Drake Maye is a home run. Caleb Williams is you swinging for a home run. Jayden Daniels is you swinging for a home run. I look at Michael Penix Jr. as you probably trying to hit a double. Bo Nix is another single. I want the Raiders this offseason. If I was the head coach and general manager, I'm swinging for a home run. And that's Drake Maye, Caleb Williams, who I do not believe are going to be available to you unless you draft or unless you give up a lot of draft capital, trade one of your stars. The only dude that I don't think you're going to have to move in the draft for, as it stands right now, once the NFL Combine happens, I think Daniel's stock's going to go up even more and more and more. But right now, if the Raiders are somewhere where they are at, Jayden Daniels is on the board. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Jayden Daniels if I don't have to trade up for him in the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, before I go, I did want to show some love to Maxx Crosby. I know that he wasn't really featured on this show. It's more just the quarterback conversation, which is where the Raiders kind of need to be right now. But, man, anytime you get awarded to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year, I mean, this is an award that obviously we know what Max does on the field, but this is an award for players that go above and beyond even off the field, help the community, and what Max has done from an Eastern Michigan standpoint, donating $1 million to that football program, what he does for dogs, like trying to find homes for them, what he does just on a daily basis is the reason why when people ask me, Mitch, would you give up 4 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby? It's such a difficult conversation because Max is what the Raiders are. And if you want to build a franchise, you build a franchise the way that Maxx Crosby has built his entire career. Nothing was given to him, brick by brick. And when you got a guy like this that's leading your franchise, you got a chance in my book. So to me, major shout out to Max Crosby. And what I want you guys to do, this is how I'm going to know to the people that made it to the very, very end of the show. I want you to spam 98 down below to show Mad Max, to show the Raiders that, hey, we're voting for Mad Max to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year. What do you got for me? What's your top 3 quarterbacks in this year's draft? I'm going to switch my jersey. If you want to give some shout-outs here to the peeps, type in 98, or if you want to give your 2 cents on your top 3 quarterbacks in this year's draft. Oh, wow, that was close. I was wondering why the camera was so low. Now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Smits. Top 3 quarterbacks in this year's draft. I know Mitch went Drake Maye, Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels. I'm going Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels. I just have the top 2 switched, in my opinion. So, I'm going that 3. Who are your top 3 quarterbacks in this year's draft? I mean, I think everybody has about the same guys. It's just the order of which they come in. I know some people have Jayden Daniels that he might go before Drake Maye. It just depends on, you never know until you get closer and closer to the draft. I mean, I remember the Baker Mayfield year. It wasn't until the night before the draft that we found out that Baker Mayfield was going to go number 1. Everybody thought it was going to be Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Darnold was a lot of rumors around him. There was another quarterback, too.
That was the same year with
I literally don't
Saquon,
remember
I
this.
believe.
Saquon went, what, 2?
I think so. Let me.
I do remember that draft.
I don't want to speak out of my tuchus.
I do remember that draft was pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, though we reported, because I remember Tom knew somebody that was like, oh, it's going to be Baker, but we also followed the betting lines. Also, Raider Sancho, you in.
Oh, shit.
Raider Sancho is in for a chance to win some money.
I was right. It went Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Sam Darnold, Denzel Ward, Bradley Chubb.
Yep.
Josh Allen was 7.
Yep. Yeah, now that you say that, I can remember Baker and Denzel for whatever reason at 1 and 4. It's kind of crazy, though, just how it's always different.
And it's so funny because everybody gives Chicago all the shit for not taking Patrick Mahomes, and they went ahead and took Mitch Trubisky. But the Browns took Baker Mayfield over Josh Allen.
Yeah, I will say.
Which is kind of the same thing. Baker Mayfield, better college quarterback than Josh Allen. Had better stats, better everything across the board. Josh Allen, the raw prospect. That's how Patrick Mahomes was with Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky was arguably a better college quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, he was. I mean, the difference was Andy Reid is an offensive genius. They were patient with Patrick. And
if you believe some people online, like Coach JB, if Mahomes went to Chicago, he wouldn't be anything.
I don't know if he wouldn't be anything. I don't know if he would be the Patrick Mahomes that we think about. Like, I mean, I do think that's a different conversation. I can remember that was one of the very first years I started doing fantasy football podcasts, and my number 1 quarterback in that year's draft was Mahomes. And then I remember I had Baker at number 2.
No, your Mahomes number 1. That draft had Trubisky and Watson.
What are they? Oh, sorry, I had Watson at number 2. That was, people ripped me because I was lower on Watson, but I had Mahomes. I can remember that year at number 1, but that was more from a fantasy standpoint.
I know the day of the draft, a lot of people were more upset about Trubisky over Watson because it went Trubisky, Watson, and then Mahomes right after.
Yeah, see, I was not a big Trubisky fan that year. I remember everybody wanted Watson because of everything they did at Clemson, but I remember I had him at 2. Yeah, and then I know I had Mahomes at 1 because that was like, again, that was like my first year writing fantasy football, and everybody came after me for that one. Everyone. Now, again, y'all, if you want to get those questions up here on the show, don't be shy. Make sure that you use hashtag Raiders, and if Chug sees one that he likes, he can put it up here on screen. Like I see Taino has one. I see Robert Jansen has one. If you want to skip the line, then all you got to do is super chat to get those questions up here. We do still have 2 more segments to do coming up here on the show.
Has a question for you.
Who wins the Heisman? Jayden Daniels. I just think what Jayden has been able to do with his arm and with his legs, to me, Jayden Daniels ends up winning the Heisman, which is wild because at the beginning of the year, everyone's like, oh, it's going to be Caleb Williams. He's not even a finalist. What's up, Taino? The quarterback debate will be more specific and narrowed down once we know who the OC will be. Could not agree with you more. It's not only just the OC, it's who the head coach is. Like, once we figure out who the offensive coordinator is, once we figure out who the head coach is going to be, and the style of offense that they're going to try to implement, like, if you're going to bring in a defensive-minded coach, I'm almost curious if you decide then to roll with a guy like Jayden Daniels, who to me is more of the athletic freak, and I think that his offensive concept might actually be a little bit more easier to deal with than a guy like Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Like, Bo Nix has got to put Bo in the perfect system. Like, Bo is a system QB. You're not just going to run any system with Bo. That's not going to happen. What up, Tom? I'm of the mindset that we draft another QB in the first round, let the kids battle it out in camp, let the cards fall where they may. Either way, we fix our QB depth problem. I mean, if you draft a QB in round 1, I'm sorry, if you're Aidan O'Connell, I don't think that it's going to be your job. Like, if you draft a QB in round 1, Aidan's going to be your backup. Now, do you go into that idea of still letting them compete? Yes, absolutely. I think every NFL team should do that. You always make your guys compete. If the Raiders draft a QB, though, in the top 10, it's going to be that guy's job. If they trade up for a dude, it's going to be that person's job, and Aidan's going to be the backup. To me, you're going to cut Brian Hoyer in the offseason. Yeah, you're going to eat some money, but that roster spot's more important. You're going to cut Jimmy Garoppolo. You're going to have Aidan O'Connell be your backup QB. Like, to me, Aidan is going to be a good backup QB in the NFL for a long time. He is. He's got the intangibles that you look for in a good backup. He's not good enough to be an everyday starter, but he's good enough to be a backup QB in the league. Remember, y'all, if you want a chance to get in Danny Avila, you are in. So right now, as it stands right now, we have 4 people in the race, $10 Venmo. Right now, you would win $25 once the next person sends in a 10. Right now, you just double your money. I got Justin Abgen in twice, Raider Sancho, and then Danny Avila. Good luck to all of y'all. We will do that at the very, very end of today's show. Also, if you haven't already, click that like button.
Do we do
Make
another?
Sure you do.
Do we do another Marshall versus Rebel race?
I don't know if Marshall wants that.
Marsh.
Another Marsh and Rebel?
Nah.
Maybe on Thursday.
Marsh isn't ready for it.
I don't know if he's ready for it. What up, Gary Gum?
He can't lose to his dad twice.
What up, Sancho? I got Kevin BMW in the chat, Tony Fletcher, Juan Hernandez, and my guy Daniel Caps Keenan. YouTube been buffing a lot. Yeah, if your YouTube is buffering, which I've seen a few people say, all I need you to do is just click refresh. For whatever reason, YouTube's been kind of struggling from time to time, and if it's buffering for you, click refresh, and that should be able to fix all of your problems. All right, coming up right now, Raiders playoff chances. It's not 0, so we're going to still hopefully figure out a way for the Silver and Black to make the playoffs. So I'm going to give you all the scenarios. I'm going to give you a rooting guide for Week 14, and I'm going to outline if the Raiders do lose a game, what are the chances that they can still make the playoffs. You ready? All right, sounds good. Chugs is ready. If y'all are ready, coming up right now, Raiders playoff chances. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. And coming up, we're going to be looking at the Raiders playoff chances before their Week 14 showdown with the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a rooting guide for this upcoming week because guess what? Even though the Raiders playoff chances aren't great, until it is 0, I'm going to continue to have hope that this team can make it in because, to me, that's what commitment to excellence is. It's going out there every single day, giving your all, and trying to just win, baby. I will say this, though. When it comes to December, here around the Raiders Report, when they're 5-7, you got some people that are real ones. Like the people that are watching this live show right now, spam RO4L because I know that you're subbed, and I know you're a diehard fan of this program. And I know there's a lot of people out there that still don't want to pay attention because, Mitch, the season's over. The season's not over to Champ Kelly. The season's not over to Antonio Pierce. The season's not over to that Raiders locker room. And as long as they're going out there and they're still trying to ball out, I'm going to continue to do the exact same thing here. So if you're subscribed, spam RO4L. We're going to give some shout-outs on our live show Thursday, so make sure you're tuned in. So as it stands right now, there is a 1% chance that the Las Vegas Raiders make the playoffs. But I promise you this, by the end of today's show, you're going to be like, all right, That 1% is very, very misleading. At the end of the day, they control their own destiny. And I've done this show for a long time, and I know for a fact that if an NFL team can control their destiny, that's all you got to ask for, right? So when you look at the Raiders' upcoming schedule, and it's not right, so don't show it. They got the Minnesota Vikings, who are coming off a bye week as well. The Los Angeles Chargers, who are sitting there at 5-7. The Kansas City Chiefs, who are 8-4. The Indianapolis Colts, that was kind of an interesting game overall. And then the Denver Broncos, who just lost last week. Here's the thing, though. When you look at the Raiders' remaining schedule, okay, they're going to be an underdog in every single one of these games. They're going to be an underdog against Minnesota, Thursday Night Football against the Chargers, Christmas against the Chiefs, Week 17 against the Colts, and then against the Broncos. To me, they will be an underdog in every one of these games, but if I'm being real with y'all, I would rather the Raiders be underdogs. Carry that chip on your shoulder because they have played better this season, and it seems like every year I cover them. When they're the underdog, they play better, and that's the bulletin board material that Antonio Pierce truly needs. So when you see this right now, the Raiders' remaining schedule, how many games will the Silver and Black win this upcoming season? Are they going to win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? I know there's going to be some people out there that say 10, which I love. And you know what? It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so I want you to scroll on down. Let me know, how many games will the Raiders win this season? When I started this show earlier this year, I talked about my prediction was a 10-7 record for the Silver and Black. Or actually, Jeremy said 10-6-1. I said 10-7 or 9-8. I know I was pretty split somewhere in there. Yes, it's been a wild and wonky year with Jimmy Garoppolo, a new quarterback, and Aidan O'Connell. But here's the thing. If the Raiders finish this season out at 10-7, according to the New York Post, their playoff chances are at 89%. And if you don't know what the New York Post does with simulations, is essentially they do 100,000 simulations like every time you pick a winner for a team. What'd you say? What did I say? The New York Times simulation, that's on me. So according to the New York Times, it's an 89% chance that the Raiders make the playoffs if they go 10-7. So for a lot of people that are watching this live right now that are saying 10 wins, well, guess what? You got a shot. If the Raiders lose 2 games, though, then their percent goes down to 0. So as soon as the Raiders lose 2 games, I'm not going to talk about playoff chances. I'm not going to do a guide to root for. That's when I will officially turn my attention to the 2024 NFL Draft, and I will turn my attention to free agency. But until that day happens, call me dumb, call me hopeful, you can call me whatever you want. I will always have the mindset that the Raiders still have a chance to make the playoffs. So let's just say now, I want you to look at this next graphic here, okay? The Raiders' playoff chances if they go 9-8. So the playoff number is based around them losing to that team. So follow me here, okay? If the Raiders lose to the Vikings, but if they beat the Chargers, Chiefs, Indy, and Denver, they still have a 47% chance to make the playoffs. So basically a coin flip. If the Raiders beat the Vikings, lose to the Chargers, win their next 3, then it's 16%. Follow me here? If the Raiders win 4 but lose to the Chiefs, 14%. Raiders win 4 but lose to the Colts, 10%. The most important game for Las Vegas for them to make the playoffs, according to the New York Times, Week 18 against Denver. You can win. You can go into that game 9 wins. If you lose to Denver, then you got a 5% chance of making the playoffs. So bottom line, if there's a week to lose, it's Week 14 against Minnesota. But all these other teams, they're going to be in the playoff hunt for the Raiders. So that's what it's based on if the Raiders go 9-8. So some of y'all are probably wondering, all right, Mitch, what's our Week 14 rooting guide then? And I'm going to be breaking down what teams you should be rooting for and what teams you shouldn't be rooting for the Silver and Black if you want them to make the playoffs. If you're like, Mitch, they're not going to make the playoffs, well, then you should listen to the exact opposite of what I'm telling you. Now, I do got to give a shout-out to today's sponsor, Gametime. And if anybody out there wants to get started, it's simple. Download the Gametime app, and you're going to get $20 off with code RaidersChat. So for me personally, this season alone, I have gotten Alex and her dad and her mom tickets to a Cowboys-Raiders preseason game. I have gotten my dad tickets to a comedy club. I've gotten myself tickets to a sporting event. And if you're looking for the best seats, price drops as the event gets closer, lowest price guaranteed. It's all available to all of y'all. So to me, I want you to be able to get tickets without the hassle. And when you look at all the different events that you can go to, whether it's NBA, college football, I mean, crap, Jeremy just went to a Pac-12 title game. He went to see Adam Sandler for his bachelor party out in Las Vegas. And to me, the Gametime app is the perfect app for anybody that does plan on going out to Vegas, because you can get those ticket prices at the very last minute. And also, Jeremy, I actually just found out something that I love that Gametime does is, like me right now during the holidays, I'm always looking for good deals. They even have a section for $50 and under. So they have a $50 and under section where if you want to see everything under $50, right? Like, I think of when I looked this morning, it was you could go watch NBA G League games. You could watch certain hockey games in Las Vegas. A bunch of different concerts, a bunch of different comedy events. That's all available on the Gametime app, which is why I want you all to go check it out. So one more time here, terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code RaidersChat for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. If anybody needs an awesome holiday gift idea, maybe a little bit of a stocking stuffer, why not go to a sporting event with your significant other, maybe your kids? I know for me personally, I would rather create a memory with my loved ones than just handing them, I don't know, a bottle of wine. Shout out to Gametime for hooking up Raider Nation. So we got to look at the AFC playoff picture as it stands right now if we're going to talk about the Raiders' playoff chances and where some of these other teams essentially lie. The division leaders, to be real with y'all, I'm not really going to pay all that close attention to besides the AFC South, because the AFC South to me right now is wide open with the injury around Trevor Lawrence, though it's being reported as I am making this video that Lawrence might be able to play this upcoming game because he's got a high ankle sprain. I don't anticipate to see him out there, but it is at least a game to monitor. But the teams that y'all should be watching for, the teams in the wild card, the Steelers, the Browns, the Colts, the Texans, the Broncos, the Bills, the Bengals, the Chargers, those are the teams where I'm looking at. So for my Week 14 watch list, these are the 8 games, minus the Raiders game, that I want the nation to pay attention to. And out of all the games here, the one that means the least is probably the Ravens and the Rams game, if I'm being 100% honest with y'all, in terms of teams making the playoffs. Also, the Dolphins and Titans game, that's why they're at the bottom, are the least important on here. But for Steelers, Patriots, Thursday night, that game matters. Bengals, Colts, that game matters. Browns, Jags, Jets, Texans, Chiefs, Bills, Chargers, Broncos. All of those games matter. And I'm going to tell you which team that you need to root for in Week 14. But first, if anybody wants to interact with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, y'all know where to find me at MitchellRenz365. If anybody wants another random holiday gift idea, you can hit me up on Cameo, also MitchellRenz365. And if anybody wants to join our live shows every Wednesday over on Locals at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, it's RaidersReport.locals.com. So my rooting guide that you're about to see, the team that is pictured, so the logos, Patriots, Bengals, Jacksonville, and then Jeremy messed up that last one, the Los Angeles Rams. Those are the teams that you should be rooting for in Week 14. So for New England at Pittsburgh, yes, this game does matter. You got to root for the Patriots, though. I don't have a lot of confidence in their ability to actually be able to get a win. The Bengals, you should be rooting for them because when I did the simulations, the Bengals were the team that helped the Raiders have the best chance to make the playoffs because the Raiders play the Colts in Week 17. Jacksonville at Cleveland, you should be rooting for the Jags in that one. And then the Rams at Baltimore, that's the one that means the least out of all these games. But because Baltimore is right now 9-3, if they hypothetically lose out, that does give the Raiders the best chance. And then the other slate of games here are these. The Jets at Houston. You should be rooting for the Jets in that game going up against C.J. Stroud and the Texans. I know this one's going to pain y'all, but it's actually better for the Raiders if the Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills instead of the Bills beating Kansas City. Same thing with the Chargers. We need the Chargers to beat Denver, and that's just how the math ends up working out. Denver has more wins. And Tennessee at Miami. It helps out the Raiders if Tennessee wins, though, again, the Tennessee game doesn't matter all that much. If you want to join our watch party this Sunday, Jeremy Chugs and I, we're going to be rocking and rolling, and anytime we get a week off, you gotta do something a little bit different. So this upcoming week, we got a special giveaway that I'm really excited about. We're also going to be doing a special giveaway on Thursday as well. And depending on when you guys watch this video, when we're live right now, it's Jim Plunkett's birthday. So I actually got a signed Jim Plunkett Raiders jersey that we're going to be using as a giveaway for this week. So make sure you tune in Thursday. Make sure you tune in Sunday for a chance to win a Jim Plunkett signed jersey. So again, y'all, that was the Raiders' playoff chances, and I know that the chances are not very high. But if I told you right now the Raiders could double their playoff chances, would you be interested? Some of y'all say yes. Some of y'all weren't paying attention nearly enough at the top of this show. But if the Raiders win, and then the Steelers, Colts, Browns, Texans, Ravens, Bills, Broncos, and the Dolphins all lose, Raiders' playoff chances go up to 2%. Sounds pretty good if you ask me. Now, I know that the percentages aren't high. There's still a lot of season left to go. But to me, the Raiders do control their own destiny. And if you are serious about keeping Aidan O'Connell, if you're serious about keeping Antonio Pierce, if you're serious about keeping Bo Hardegree, well, now it's time to put up or shut up. And the Raiders, to me, still have a playoff chance. Yes, it's not high, but guess what?
Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments. I would personally say, and I think we got a question about this earlier. Regardless of what happens, I would go ahead and let Aidan O'Connell battle whatever quarterback is brought in. Because it wouldn't hurt you to let Aidan O'Connell have another chance, to let him show what he's got against whoever you bring in. And if the guy who you bring in is not better than Aidan O'Connell, then that's not good. So I would say no, but he should at least get a chance. At least a chance. What do you think, Mitch?
Do I want Aidan to be the quarterback next season? I think do I want the Raiders to make the playoffs? Yes. If the Raiders make the playoffs, that means Aidan's more than likely going to be back. However, I've made it pretty clear. I would rather have Jayden Daniels. Like, to me, I'd rather have a guy like Michael Penix Jr. I'd rather have somebody with a little bit more upside in regards to the quarterback position. But we'll see. I do have to mention there is some news here to discuss. The Raiders have signed defensive end Janarius Robinson to their active roster. He's been on the practice squad. And then additionally, they signed Charles Snowden to the practice squad. So the Raiders today made two minor roster moves, nothing all that crazy. But Robinson, I thought, did okay against Kansas City. And then Snowden, UDFA in 2021. Really good athlete, but anytime I feel like I say really good athlete that's a UDFA, I feel like that is a little contradicting, but he is a really good athlete. I mean, dude is long, lanky, and I feel like the Raiders for a long time have been looking for these long and lanky defensive ends because he could play outside linebacker, defensive end type of guy. Those are the Raiders news that ended up just going down today. If you want to get in our 50-50 raffle, it's going to be at the very end of today's show. $10 Venmo to get in. And the last time that I checked, we got a few more people that are in. So as it stands right now, if you sent in 10, you'd have a chance to win $45. So right now we have 8 guys in the race. We got Justin Abgen, Raider Sancho, Danny Avila, Brian Folsom twice, Austin Larson, and then Eric Ferreira. Those are the people that are in our duck race as it stands right now. And again, if anybody wants more questions, hashtag Raiders, or you could super chat to get those questions, comments on the show. And again, if anybody is having internet issues, like I said, just hit that refresh button. Hopefully it resolves itself. I know I see a few people complaining about it. Just hit refresh and should be able to get it figured out. So, hopefully, at least. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in right now to the show. If your YouTube is tripping, hit refresh.
Raider Vader said, "Hey, Chugs, what's going on with Trevor Lawrence? I've not heard anything." Doug Peterson came out this morning and said it is a high ankle sprain. Now, we've seen quarterbacks play with high ankle sprains. Mahomes did it throughout the playoffs last year, but, I mean, it's not ideal. If you Google doctor it, it says 6 to 8 weeks to completely heal. Now, if you play on it, if you're consistently working out on that ankle, that extends the timeline of how long it's going to take to actually get to 100%. And it might be a situation where it won't get completely better until after the season's over, until the Jags are out of the playoffs. Because it looks like to keep the AFC South title, because the Texans are one game back behind them, I think they're going to have Trevor Lawrence play these next couple weeks, even though he's injured.
Yeah.
Even though it's one of those things, do you risk losing the division and having to be a wild card team and go on the road and play Trevor Lawrence? Or do you rest him and get him ready for the playoffs and possibly become a wild card team?
Sure. I mean, I'm curious to see what happens, man. I mean, it's going to be a hell of an offseason. Patrick B., you in. And then also Luis Rodriguez, you in. So let me just see here. I keep getting this on my screen.
LA crash.
What up, LA? Just woke up. What did I miss? Honestly, you haven't really missed much today. We talked about some Heisman candidates today. We also talked about the Raiders' playoff chances, which, yes, they are not great, but there is still a little bit of a chance. And then coming up here on the show, we're going to talk about some guys that need to step up. From a news standpoint, the Raiders signed Janarius Robinson to their active roster. They also signed Charles Snowden to the practice squad. So something to at least, that's the newsy things around it. Yeah, Rebel, like I said, man, just hit refresh. You guys should be pretty good there. YouTube thing? Yeah. So we're getting some stuff from YouTube saying it's some bugs on their end. We're just being told to tell y'all to hit refresh. So if your internet keeps going out, refresh. Hopefully you're good from there on out. What was that? Yeah, we got one more segment coming up here on the show. It's around players that need to step up. Because let's face it, if you got to make a playoff push, you need a few guys that need to step up. But also there's a lot of players here on this roster that they need to try to save their job for next offseason. And if you're a new coach, right, you're going to base, like if I'm a new head coach, what I'm seeing here in the final 5 weeks of this season are the most important 5 games because you had a bye week, right? You had time to learn that extra week with your new head coach, and people are going to put excuses on McDaniels and Ziegler, and you need that extra time to get acclimated. If I'm looking at players that either deserve to be re-signed or players that need to be brought back, cut, it's these next 5 games. These next 5 games are massive to me. Yep. Robert, Tony, Raider, appreciate all of y'all tuning in. Bama, I'm not saying it's your end. I'm not even saying it's our end. I'm saying it's YouTube. That's where the issues are. Because we're not the only channel here at Chat Sports having a little bit of issues. If you heard AP Presser, he even said he needs to win out. He knows. He knows what's at stake. I think everybody knows what's at stake here for both of those guys. What up, G-Money? What up, Just Nick? What up, Bill, Robert? I see all y'all down here. Appreciate all y'all rolling through some of these technical issues with YouTube. All right, coming up here, Raiders that need to step up the final 5 games of the season. You ready to go? Let's get it going. Right now, coming up, players, let's face it, got to step it up. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some players on the offense and on the defensive side of the football that flat out got to be able to step up. And it's not just stepping up in terms of they haven't played well this season. That's not it at all. To me, if I'm going to be that new head coach, if I'm going to be that new general manager, these next 5 games are the most important 5 games that I'm going to look at of what players could I potentially give a contract extension to? Or do I want to re-sign? What players that are on the books that could be potentially cut? So when you think about all of that, that's what these next 5 games for this Raiders team are so freaking important, not only for the coaching staff, but for a lot of the dudes that might wonder, am I going to be a Raider next season? And anytime you got a new head coach or GM, that question should always be going through your mind. But when you look at the Raiders' remaining schedule, there's 5 games, and part of the equation is this. I want the Raiders to make the playoffs. I will never do as long as the Raiders have a great opportunity at hand, that flat out need to go out and they need to prove it. They need to prove that they deserve to be on this team, but also need to step up so the Raiders can win some games. Now, what I don't want y'all to miss is we're going to be live for every single Raiders football game this season. Subscribe, turn on those notifications, so that way, when we go live, you don't miss it. We're going to be doing a Jim Plunkett jersey giveaway this week. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff for Thursday Night Football, the Christmas game I'm excited for. If you want to just party with the nation, subscribe, join all of our watch parties. All right, let's go to the first player here that needs to step it up. To me, it's Dylan Parham, and you're going to see some names here that are part of that McDaniels-Ziegler regime. And I would say if you looked at the offensive line as a whole, and when I think of the starting offensive line, I think of Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, Greg Van Roten, and Jermaine Illuminor. To me, the lineman that's been the worst out of all those guys this season has been Dylan Parham. And yes, Parham was drafted by that old regime, but I mean, realistically, if he doesn't get a little bit better in the run blocking department, he is an undersized guard. Yes, he could potentially play a little center next season because Andre James is a free agent. But if I'm the Raiders, I try to do everything in my power to bring James back. And if you're Parham, nothing is given to you. I will admit, I am a little bit upset that Parham hasn't gotten better the way that I hoped that he was going to get better. From what I understand, I don't know if he's dealing with an injury. I don't anticipate that to be the case. Parham has shown that he is okay at times in pass blocking. Run blocking, though, he's a liability. And you see a lot of the big-time runs that the Raiders have success with are usually on that right side of the offensive line, not behind Parham. So, yes, I know that Parham has been a starting offensive lineman for the next 2 years, but to me, man, like, his hot seat, it's getting turned up a little bit. Let's go to another player here. It's Jermaine Illuminor, and this one is more based on the fact that Illuminor is going to be a free agent next offseason. Jermaine's next final 5 games could determine whether or not he is brought back to the Las Vegas Raiders. Do I think he gets as big of a contract as what he got last season? No, I don't anticipate that. And if you're Jermaine, maybe you try to go somewhere else. But to me, his offensive line ability where he can play tackle, he can play guard, that stuff does help you out a lot. And to be real with y'all, I don't think that he's appreciated nearly enough here, because he can also play left tackle. He can play every single position on that line, and he'd be happy to do so, probably minus center. So to me, if the Raiders want to make that playoff push, you need your right tackle to step up. You need your offensive lineman to play at a higher level. And yes, these PFF grades here up on screen, and he's done a good job. But to me, the area where Jermaine really struggles is the costly penalty, the big-time momentum shift, right, where it seems like the Raiders are going in the right direction, and then all of a sudden, it's a back-breaking penalty. That's where Jermaine needs to clean it up. And whether he's going to be a Raider next season or not, these final 5 games could determine really whether or not he gets signed next offseason. Let's go to another offensive lineman here, and it's Thayer Munford. I don't know if Munford is going to get any chances to start the remainder of the year. If I'm the Raiders, though, I do want to see at least a little bit of extra work here from Munford. And the numbers that you see up here on screen, according to PFF, at the 72.4 overall grade, he's been good against the run, but he's also been used as that 6th offensive lineman, and that's where I think that these numbers are a little bit boosted, because he's going up against a tight end compared to going up against the defensive end in the run blocking game where he's used the most. If he does get an opportunity, though, he's got to show it. He's a 7th-round pick in 2022. If you're the Raiders, like, you're hoping that if Jermaine Illuminor doesn't come back next offseason, that you can rely on Munford to be your starting right tackle in the NFL. I don't know if that's really what you want. I don't know if that's what you should want. But to me, the Raiders are going to have a lot of offensive line questions. I mean, Jermaine Illuminor, free agent. Greg Van Roten, going to be a free agent. Andre James, free agent. I mean, that's your entire right side. So Munford needs to prove every day in practice, and when he gets those game-playing opportunities, that the Raiders can rely on him to be a guy on that right side of the offensive line next season. Let's go to the quarterback position. It's probably the biggest one out there. It's Aidan O'Connell. And the reason why Aidan needs to step up is if the Raiders have any chance to make the playoffs, Aidan needs to play lights-out football. Like, he needs to play the way that he did against Kansas City. Yes, I wanted a few more touchdowns. I think we all did. But that's the way Aidan needs to play. He needs to play turnover-free football. And then on top of that, if O'Connell plays great and the Raiders make the playoffs, he's going to be your starting quarterback next season. If Aidan struggles, there's going to be teams out there that wonder, is he just a backup or can he be a starter? if Aidan plays really, really well these next 5 games, it could change the entire direction of his entire NFL career. It literally could. And that's why Aidan needs to go out there and needs to step it up here. I got one more player on the offensive side of the football that, let's face it, needs to step it up. But what is your confidence level in Aidan O'Connell for the final 5 games of the season? This will be the pinned comment on today's show, and scale it from 1 to 10. 1 being you are not confident in Aidan at all. 10, you are 100% sure that Aidan's going to ball and the Raiders are going to win their next 5 games. My answer here on O'Connell is I'm a 5. I know that Aidan can be a good quarterback. I don't know if Aidan can be a great quarterback. He's going to get a test, though. When you go up against Chargers, Chiefs, those 2 games, I need a quarterback that can show me that you can compete with Justin Herbert, that you can compete with Patrick Mahomes. And then in that Week 18 game, if you got a shot to make the playoffs and it comes down to that game, I want a quarterback that can sack up and go get it done. Aidan, I'm pulling for you, but my confidence level in you right now is about a 5. Let's go to the final player here that needs to step it up. It's Hunter Renfrow, and I know what the nation thinks about Renfrow, but we got to realize Renfrow hasn't been third in Renfrow in about 2 years. Like, he wasn't very good last season, and I'm not just saying that because of McDaniels. Like, he wasn't all that great last season. On top of that, I put him in my cut candidates list because to me, if I was running this organization, Renfrow would be a cut candidate post-June 1st because if you do a post-June 1st cut, you end up saving, like, the majority of his contract. And if I can save close to $12 million by moving on from Renfrow post-June 1st, it's something that you at least have to entertain that idea. Like, I like Renfrow. We like Renfrow. But if the Raiders don't use Hunter, why pay him again $11 million plus where you could cut him and save that $11 million? If Renfrow wants to prove to the nation that he deserves to come back next season, he's got to go out there and he's got to do a little bit more because what he's doing now isn't worth the money. And that's not always just on him. But he does need to play at a high level if the Raiders want to make the playoffs, and he needs to be able to play at a high level if he wants to be brought back next year. Coming up next here on the show, I got some defenders that need to step it up here for the Las Vegas Raiders, and I decided to sprinkle in a few extra names as well because I figured it was the right way to do it because with a new regime, you got to talk about the players that the old regime drafted in. I'll tell you which guys in that old regime I'm putting on the hot seat. But if you don't already know, man, there is one place to go and one place only when you're looking for tickets, whether it's to football games, whether it's to a baseball game, whether it's to a basketball game, hockey game, concerts, theater, and a whole lot more. Shout out to today's sponsor, Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events, it shouldn't be stressful. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. And I know a lot of y'all probably don't know what to get mom and dad, maybe don't know what to get your significant other for the holidays. Anytime I've ever bought my dad, Alex's parents, heck, even Alex, a gift on Gametime where it's something that we can go and we can experience it together, it's a slam dunk gift every single time. And you guys can go download the app right now. Just use promo code RaidersChat for $20 off. And one of the things that I've just recently discovered that I love that Gametime does is they actually have a section for $50 and under. I mean, it's during the holiday season, right? Everybody's trying to save up some money. Everybody's pinching a few pennies together. But, like, if I told you you could go to a concert, a comedy, and everything in that section is $50 or less, you're probably pretty interested. So if I said a few good things and you're like, you know what, that is a really cool Christmas idea. It's a really good Hanukkah idea. It's a really good holiday gift idea. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code RaidersChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code RaidersChat for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That link's going to be available to you guys down in the comments and down in the description of today. Daniels and Ziegler. And you're not going to see every single player because certain guys deserve to be on this list. Now, I already talked about Dylan Parham, so you're not going to see him on here. But Zamir White, to me, he's a cut candidate because he has not been good. Matthew Butler, currently on the practice squad. We know what the practice squad means to Antonio Pierce. So if you're Matthew Butler, man, you got to step it up. Britton Brown, your ass is getting cut. Tyree Wilson, he's obviously not going to get cut. And I say that because the Raiders did cut Alex Leatherwood before when a new regime came in. Tyree Wilson's not getting cut, but he does need to start putting up some numbers here the final 5 weeks to just calm down Raider Nation. Though, I always anticipated that his first year was going to be pretty slow. Byron Young, third-round defensive tackle. To me, his job's not 100% safe. Trey Tucker's not going anywhere. He's too talented, but I do want to see more out of him. And if you see more out of Trey Tucker down the stretch, that's going to put Hunter Renfrow in an interesting spot. Ja'Cory Bennett in at corner. Dude definitely needs to step up. Chris Smith, Amari Burney, Nesta Jade Severa, all of these guys, if they want to assure themselves that they have a job next season, the your regime's gone. Time to step it up these final 5 weeks in the game or on the practice field. Let's now go to the defensive side of the football here. And the first player that I'm going to bring up is a dude that he has a great opportunity in front of him, and it's Amik Robertson. When the Raiders moved on from Marcus Peters, okay, I almost looked at that as like, all right, Amik, do you want to prove to the Raiders, do you want to prove to the entire NFL that you can go out there and you can be a reliable starting corner in the NFL? He has the opportunity to do it right now. He's going to be a free agent this offseason. I told everybody in last week's show that I would bring back Amik. I would figure out a way to re-sign him. However, there's going to be teams looking to bring him in. When you look at his coverage grade, according to PFF, it's a 58.1. However, the pass rating against him is 72.7. He's got 3 PBUs, 2 INTs, and to me, he's a dude that's going to go out there and he's always going to compete at a very high level. With that being said, though, I know what some people think of Amik Robertson that watch this show, and I know a lot of people, they also like him. So will Amik Robertson be on the Raiders next season? Yes or no? I'm looking down in the live chat like, is Jimmy Garoppolo on this list? No, Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to be on the team next year. Brandon Bolton not going to be on the team next year. Brian Hoyer not on the team, so I didn't even put those guys into the equation. To me, the players that need to step up are guys that either have a chance to be back, don't have a chance to be back, but are also going to help us actually win some football games this upcoming season. So will Amik be back on the Raiders next season? Yes? No? My answer is hopefully. I think I gave it 2 just win, baby, so it was a coin flip. If anybody wants to go see my predictions on all of the Raiders' 2024 free agents and whether or not they are going to be back, I did make a video last week around it. Go check it out. It's got Josh Jacobs on the cover, and I break down the likelihood, the percentages of all the Raiders bringing back some of those free agents. And if you want to be able to find it, it's going to be in the comments. It's going to be in the description, and this is what the video looks like here. 2024 free agents. Find out which players I believe are the most likely and the least likely to be back on Las Vegas next season. Let's go to another dude here who's got big time in front of him. Jack Jones. Raiders moved on from Marcus Peters, same song and dance, but the only time Jones has been successful has been with Antonio Pierce. And if I'm an NFL team, I see that what he went through in New England. If he doesn't prove it in the next 5 games, I don't know if he's going to get another shot in the NFL. Like, that's a realistic conversation to have. Does he need to step it up for the Raiders? Of course he does. He's going to get his opportunities. But he also needs to step it up for himself, because if you fail these final 5 games, I don't know what team's going to give you a legitimate shot to make a 53-man roster. Jack Jones could spend the remainder of his entire career on a practice squad at best. Let's go to another player here. It's Bilal Nichols. And yes, Bilal's going to get signed to a certain team next year, but he has an opportunity now to be able to prove to Champ Kelly, be able to prove to Antonio Pierce, be able to prove to the Raiders, hey guys, I'd like to try to come back on this defensive tackle roster, because when he was signed to a 2-year, $9 million deal, I expected more. And Bilal has shown some flashes of good, but he's also has been pretty inconsistent in terms of being able to get after the quarterback, being able to stop the run. And this could be his final opportunity to get actually a halfway decent contract in free agency. I want Bilal to succeed, and for the Raiders to make the playoffs, you need a guy like Bilal Nichols. You need a guy like Jerry Tillery to step it the hell up. Let's go to this dude right here, Malcolm Koonce. And Malcolm has been playing a lot better than what anybody I really truly think thought. And he's getting better and better as the season goes on, which you know how much that means to me. His pressure rate is high. Yes, I still would like him to get an extra sack or 2, but if the Raiders want to make the playoffs, you need Malcolm Koonce to continue to play at a high level. And on top of that, one of the players that I think could be an interesting extension candidate, and some people might disagree with it, but to me, if you extend Malcolm Koonce at the end of the season, you're going to get him on a much, much cheaper deal compared if you try to extend him at the end of next offseason. Because if I'm Malcolm, I try to go test the free agent waters. However, though, if he goes out and he balls out these next 5 games, he could get a contract extension very similar to what the Raiders gave Andre James, which was an unknown. It was a risk, but that risk ended up paying off. And if you're Las Vegas and you know that you don't want this guy to leave and you would like him to be a cheap, reliable defensive end on your roster for the next 2 to 3 years, then I would say he steps up these next few games. You give him a contract extension at the end of the year. Let's go to the final name here. It's this, Divine Diablo. Divine Diablo has been replaced easily by Robert Spillane, and Robert Spillane was hands down the best free agent signing that the Raiders have had this offseason. I saw an article earlier, I forget who ended up writing it, said Jacoby Myers was the best move the Raiders made all offseason. That's cap. It was Robert Spillane, and honestly, it's not all that close in free agency. But the reason why that puts Divine Diablo on the hot seat is, yes, he does still have one more year left. He has one more year left on his contract. But I've seen a lot from Divine, and it has been a roller coaster of a ride. Luke Masterson has outplayed him. Also, you have Amari Burney. Maybe you just decide to keep Amari Burney as your athlete, but you have Robert Spillane. Like, to me, that might put Divine Diablo as an odd man out as a potential guy that they don't end up keeping this offseason. If Divine wants to prove that he deserves to be a Raider next season, he needs to just flat out do it. And I hope that he can end up getting it done because the Raiders do need Divine Diablo to step it the hell up. So here you go. You get the final shots here, and all those defensive players that I mentioned. You know, it's so difficult to talk about the Raiders offseason right now because I don't know which guys are going to be around, right? Like, I don't know who's going to be the offensive coordinator. I don't know who's going to be the head coach. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be. So do you want Patrick Graham back in 2024? Yes, no. This is really going to impact a lot of the dudes that we just talked about there on the defensive side of the football. So before I get out of here, give me some Raiders that need to step up because to me, Dylan Parham, Jermaine Illuminor, Thayer Munford, y'all need to prove it for these final 5 games, for the Raiders winning, and for what's going to happen next offseason. Aidan O'Connell, man, I'm pulling for you because you can really change your entire life with 5 good games here. Hunter Renfrow, to me, he's a post-June first cut candidate, but I know the nation loves him. Then on the defensive side of the football, Amik Jack Jones, it's time for y'all to be able to prove it. Bilal Nichols, if you want to make a big-time payday, but the Raiders need him to step up. Malcolm Kuntz, an extension candidate, and then Divine Diablo. But you know what? We also got to look at McDaniels and Ziegler's draft class because to me, these dudes need to step it up at practice, whether you're 53-man, whether you're on the practice squad. Your job is not solidified with the new regime that is coming in. And if you don't start proving it, I don't know where you're going to be next season. For anybody that wants to stay even more in tune with the Raiders, you can always hit me up on IG. You can always hit me up on Twitter as well at MitchellRentz365. And also, huge shout out to everybody for being patient in terms of I've been dealing with a little bit of a stomach flu here the past few days. Was able to come here on this live show, hang out with all y'all, and I appreciate everyone for always tuning into the show. Salute to you. All right, Jeremy, one more 50-50 raffle calling here. $10 to get in at Mitchell Renz 365. The last time that I checked, we had 11 people in. Now we have 13.
Wow.
Yep. Now we have 13.
Love
now
to
we
see
have
it.
14. Justine, you in.
Nice.
Justine Gonzalez. So here are the names that are in. I got Justin Avgin twice, Raider Sancho, Danny Avila, Brian Folsom twice, Austin Larson, Eric Ferreira, Luis Rodriguez, Patrick B twice, LA Crash Dog, Maddie, and then Justin Gonzalez. Those are the 14 names that are in. So right now, $10 Venmo, you would win $70. Raider Josh, you in. So now we are up to 15. Raider Josh. All right, let me do this. I'm going to send you this list here real quick.
All right, bet.
Final call for a chance to get in. I'll send it to TV for you.
Oh, sweet.
There you go. And Emmanuel Ruiz, another one in. So now we're up to 16. Winner's going to get $80. I'm curious to see who's going to end up winning this. If I'm going to put my money on anybody, I feel like Austin Larson or Brian Folsom are going to be an interesting spot.
Yeah.
David Daniels in. David Daniels, you in. Now winner gets $85. Got Manuel, got David Daniels. All right. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Oh, I have it set.
Is it a new one?
I honestly can't remember if we've done this one before.
We have done this one before, but it's been a very long time. It's kind of holiday-ish. Kind of. Yeah, these are good. I'll tell you what, also the Greyhounds, we did a lot of dog races on Sunday. The dog ones were always very consistent. Yeah, they were pretty solid. All right, y'all. Winner's going to get $85. If you want in, final call at Mitchell Renz 365, $10 Venmo to get in. Winner gets $85. After this, we're going to wrap this show up here. The next time that I'll be live is going to be on Thursday for Thursday Night Football, which Patriots, what is it? It's Patriots Steelers. Oh, my Lord. And we're going to have to root for New England. That's going to be brutal. I did get something. There's a chance that Jeremy and I have to eat some grasshoppers on Thursday. So if you want to see that go down, tune in Thursday. I'm a little nervous about it. We're also going to do a Jim Plunkett jersey giveaway. So be on tune for that. You ready to get this thing going? All right, y'all. Winner gets $85. Good luck to everybody out there. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's get it going. Oh, man, this looks like a typical Saturday night for Wasted. Just two-handing it out there. Raider Josh here, I believe, has got the early lead. Justin Abjan, though, I mean, they're right there. I'll tell you what, when you get this many skiers in one area, I don't know how they don't trip over each other. This is definitely not safe. It would be kind of funny, like the old egg race where they drop the eggs. It'd be kind of funny if once in a while in these races, if they tripped and fell. Patrick B is in a really good spot. So is LA Crash Dog. But right now, it's Raider Josh taking the lead. 26 seconds to go. Winner gets $85. Winner gets $85. And right now, Luis Rodriguez out to a lead. I mean, Luis, him and Nico Laz have done this more than anybody. Is Luis going to have enough to keep this lead? I don't know, but wait. Raider Josh, Danny Avila, it's going to come down to it. Matty, winner. Wow. I'll tell you what, man. Very, very impressive. Maddie also in her Venmo sent me, it's my birthday. So, happy birthday to Maddie. Happy birthday to Maddie. Wow. Good stuff there, man. Her 30th birthday. Her 30th birthday. Nice little 85. Congratulations. That's crazy, man. 30th birthday. I wish I would have read that earlier. Happy birthday to Maddie. That's freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome. Also, Kobe, I just saw your entry. It's late, so I'm just going to send you this back. Kobe Carson, I just sent you your $10 back. Sorry. Yours came in right when the race started. All right, y'all. Make sure you join us on Sunday for Raiders Vikings Live. Appreciate everyone also for rolling with some of the technical issues that YouTube was dealing with today. We're also going to be back on Thursday on top of that. Make sure you're tuned in. Appreciate everyone again for being patient with me with dealing with this stomach flu. Anytime I have to call in for work, I hate doing it, but I promise you guys would not have wanted to watch me yesterday because there would have been a very good chance that I would have thrown up on screen, and I'm going to try not to do that. So, shout out to everyone. Shout out to Robert, Eric, Nick, Venthrak, Kobe. Appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. I'll see you guys on live Thursday. Unless breaking news Raiders happens, which we always cover. So for me, from Jeremy Chugs, enjoy the rest of your day.